Okay, so moving on. Samantha Cross. Sony's 2019 seems pretty light in terms of first party. Do you think any of the games announced will be out in 2019?
Yeah, Days Gone will be out in 2019. Medieval will be out in 2019.
Captain Obvious, ladies and gentlemen.
That's what I'm here for, folks. I'll be here every Monday at 9 p.m.
There'll be a new MLB The Show. And
again, Captain Obvious.
What she said,
good one, Moose.
It is light.
I missed that one. Good one.
I mean,
again, right.
At the beginning of the year, locked up, so this gives them plenty of time up until, I would say, a month after we see Days Gone. There will probably be an announcement, which would be May. So they might even just wait till June. They might just, they're not doing E3, but they might do an announcement of their own and just be like, okay, here's the release date for Ghosts. Here's the release date here's the release date for Last of Us 2. And they might have other things up their sleeve. You know what I mean? They could have a bunch of stuff. When did Wipeout come out? That came out a while ago. They could be built. They could have put a developer on building that engine, building that game, and they could have a Wipeout in the works, because I know they put that collection out to see what the interest was, and I think it sold pretty well. I don't know the numbers on it, but it got a VR, VR
component.
Yeah, component. So it's obviously sold enough to where they're like, hey, let's add VR to this because it'd be cool. And I hear it's pretty freaking awesome. But I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that I'm sure they haven't even talked about. So, they're kind of like the magician, where they're like, hey, look at all this over here, and you're not watching what I'm doing over here. And what I'm doing over here is just as good as what I've got going over here. So they're just, I feel like this year will be really good. I don't think there's going to be any issue. My concern is them building for the next generation.
Yeah,
what they're going to do, because Microsoft is doing the thing of,
Microsoft's doing it in public right now.
Well, Microsoft is doing the whole thing of it's not the only platform you can play our games on. They're kind of trying to go the route of being a Renaissance man. You know what I mean?
Everyone.
Yeah, but now they're swinging the pendulum the other way, and they've picked up indie studios. They picked up other studios. So now they're going to have a bunch of first party. So it's what is Sony going to do to combat that? If they keep plowing forward with their exclusives, they're going to kick butt. They just can't do what they did with the PS4 at the start of PS4 and it be a vacant wasteland until 3 years into the cycle. And then it's a game, 2-3 games every year. And you're like, I got too much to play,
Yeah. Well, look at the games that have come out in the last 3 years or so. Those studios are already working on games, and Guerrilla has 2 teams now. So I still think Guerrilla is developing a Killzone for launch, and then Horizon will come a couple years later. God of War is going to have a sequel. Spider-Man's probably going to be the fastest turnaround for a sequel, to be honest, even though it's the most recent. Just because, unless they change locations, which I don't think they're going to try to do, they've already they've already done the hard part and build the groundwork for that. They just got to put new missions and enemies and stuff. I still think that's going to be the fastest turnaround. I still think Bloodborne 2 is a given.
That's a launch title. I think Bloodborne 2 is a launch title. I could even see Horizon Zero Dawn being a launch title. Horizon Zero Dawn 2 being a launch title.
Dude, if it's a launch title, I'm buying PS5 day one.
If that's 20, so it came out in 2017. So if they do 2020, that's 3 years.
Yeah.
Maybe not a launch title.
I can see that the fall of the first year, though.
Yeah, the fall of the next year.
2021.
Yeah. If the console comes in 2020. Now, if they push them all out to 2021, that's fine, because then it could be a launch title.
I don't need new consoles in 2020. That's the thing.
I don't either. I got enough to play. I got a bunch of good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff coming out. It just depends on when the developers, when they're going to be all right, listen, we're pushing the limits of what we can do with this hardware. We need new stuff. I mean, especially since I got Captain Canada talking in my ear, where like the chipset between the PS5 and the PS4 is like leaps and bounds over any generational gap that we've had before. So
Yep.
yeah, it's like he's been telling me it's like it's gonna like be fucking awesome. I'm like, sweet, like bring it.
It's gonna be pretty comparable to a mid-end gaming PC,
which will be nice.
Which if they release it at the price point that they're rumoring it to be, I mean, that's no mid-end gaming PC can beat that price point.
Yeah,
none whatsoever, none that I can think of off the top of my head. No matter what configuration you throw at it,
release it, make everything backwards compatible, and we have a ball game, ladies and gentlemen.
And that's the thing too. Easier, like both of them. I'm sure Microsoft will still keep that feather in their cap, but that's a feather that Sony needs to add to their cap. I know they bought that streaming service, for PS Now. They spent a bunch of money on that. I mean, you want to get money out of your investment, but it's not. But also, like the PS3 is like that architecture was hard to like do backwards compatibility with. So, since you should be able to do it with PS4 to PS5.
Yeah.
Still keep the PlayStation Now streaming service, but make like if I put my Dark Souls 3 disc into my PS5 that's for my PS4, I should be able to run it with no problem. Like that's what I would want is backwards compatibility.
Mm-hmm. I mean, more so than any generation now, because I feel like we could talk about the chipsets and leaps and bounds. That doesn't necessarily translate to grand leaps forward game wise, because let's be honest, the only thing that's changed between now and the original Uncharted is Nathan Drake's face has more pores in it.
Yeah,
like that's really it. Now, sure, there are other like filling out the world details and things like that, but we're not going from 8-bit to 16-bit anymore. We're not going from 2D to predominantly 3D anymore.
Yeah. Like it's pretty much going to be photorealistic now, and that's the way it's going to be. Like it's just like, oh great, David Cage's next game will look more realistic and still be fucking awkward. Great, fantastic. We're not making many leaps here. Yeah, like.
But hey, better AI is probably a reasonable ask.
Yeah, like I feel like that's where we need to make the leaps and bounds. Better chipsets for the developers to have better AI. Like the AI in Far Cry 5 at some time.
It's great, isn't it?
Like, are you freaking kidding me? Dude, I'm standing like he's standing like 10 feet away and he's turned like a 90-degree, like facing the other way. Like he could see me. And I'm the guy that's causing trouble.
Moose, you've watched me play Hitman. You've seen some of those guys can be looking at me and go, huh?
I know. It's like I want better intelligence. I mean, I look to the indies to see like innovative gameplay. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that's where I think it's at. So
But all that said, I don't want the AI in Hitman to be better because it wouldn't be as funny if it was. I mean, the best thing that encapsulates all that is Moose was like, he waited for you to raise your gun.
Yeah. Or like the guys will come in and be like, could you come with me, sir? And you're just like standing there. So they go to turn around and walk out the door and escort you out the door. And you just throw like a rock at them and knock them out. And I'm like, that's not how like security detail would do it. Like they would like take you into custody. One guy would like cuff you, like, or at least he would get behind you and push you forward with the gun in your back. Like at the very, very least. Like that's what should happen. But I mean, it's funny. It's just I think they're gonna try and I don't want to say milk, but they're gonna use the end of the life cycle of the PS4 to put out the releases. They got Ghosts, Dreams. The stuff that people are doing in Dreams, Medium Molecules, Dreams, it makes me want that game. People built PT in it.
That needs to be a PlayStation 5 launch title. Dreams. It should be the first title you get with PlayStation Plus on PlayStation 5.
See, that's why it needs to launch now, so that when PS5 comes out.
Yeah, but I'm saying like if it launches now, and the slim factor that PlayStation 5 might not be backwards compatible, that slim margin, that game's gonna die on the hill.
Oh yeah, but I think their problem is they've been keeping it behind closed doors too much.
Yeah,
and they should have what they should have did was all those people that created the kick-ass stuff. They should have took their game to developers, other like third party and even first party, and been like, create something cool with this, and here it is for the world. You know what I mean? And this is what you can do in our game. Like I think the one game was called like Project Zero or something like that people are working with the people from Prometheus. And I'm like, that's badass. It's going to be like kind of like a walking first person shooter type thing with story. So
I mean, it was kind of like how Sound Shapes launched. Remember that? Where instead of like, walk with me on this one, you got the base game that was all those platforming levels, but then they had creators create content. Like Beck had, he got together with a developer and created levels around his music. Like a lot of people did. If Media Molecule took an approach like that with, several indie developers, like, hey, create something in Dreams and we'll put it and give you kickbacks from it. Like, yeah, do that. Because then at least it shows some potential, rather than, because like Little Big Planet was cool, but I don't think those games were great platformers. But when the users really got into the creation stuff, those games became infinitely better. Not just because there was so much more content, but like the people that were doing the highest of the high end stuff in those games, that stuff was fun. And I hope Dreams has that. And I kind of agree with Corey that it should be a launch thing for PS5, but that also, yeah, like he said, it needs to be backwards compatible so people have time to ramp that stuff up.
Yeah. Like I could see I could see them. This would be the ideal situation. Launch it on PS4, let people mess around with it, and then when PS5 comes out, be like, hey, we're doing it's a PlayStation Plus game, but also you get a PS5 patch with like all new kinds of whatever assets, sharpen up the imagery a little bit, add more CPU for, I guess, the intelligence of the AI.
Mm-hmm.
I think that handles the AI, Lee. I don't know.
Yes.
CPU. Yes. Thank you. I'm like, fucking nonsense.
Yes, it does handle the AI. Yes.
I was like, give it a bigger CPU. So
you really pulled through, Moose. Good job.
But anyway, I think
hashtag guessing.
But anyway, it's now on my radar. Like they should have shown the stuff they're showing now. Like when they did that really awkward demonstration of the game, like what was that, 2-3 years ago? 2 years ago might have been, like at E3.
At PSX, where you saw like all the people.
PSX.
PSX.
Yeah,
that was extremely awkward.
But also, like that's the only. I don't know of any other way to show how a creation suite. I don't know how to advertise a creation suite.
That's true. I mean that's the point.
I mean, because Media Molecule, like in a lot of, I don't know how front facing they've been with what Dreams is, but most of what I've come across is like, this is not so much a game as it is a set of tools to create with.
Yeah.
And, I'm not saying that they're saying that, but I'm saying that like other folks have said that. Yeah. And I don't know how to advertise that. It's like, hey, I mean, it's almost like saying, hey, here's a hammer, some nails, and a screwdriver. Build what you want. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, but what is it? Like no, you build with it. Right, but whatever you want, but what?
What they need to do is they need to give like a starting ground. Like here are some predetermined environments. Here's some scenarios you can do. Like that's I agree with you. That's the problem. So you give somebody a creation box suite or whatever, and you're like, well, what do I create with this? Anything. And again, like to echo what you said, well, what do you mean anything? And it's like, no, anything. And it's like, okay, so
there's a reason Lego sets come with instructions.
Right, exactly. So it should come with a couple instructions and then say, hey, by the time you reach the end of the tutorial, they're like, you have now learned all the tools you need. Come back to, go back to the instruction manual or see this website, because everything's online now. Go to this website for, frequently asked questions if you need, something to jar your memory, and then just be like, here you go. Just go out and do your thing.
I can understand that.